This is Think Out Loud on OPB. I'm Jen Chavez. The words will come, the characters of a new play tell each other. That's the name of a new work created by local playwright Melody Erfani. It follows an Iranian-American girl as she navigates learning, language, and identity with dyslexia, a journey drawn in part from Erfani's own experience. The multi-sensory production uses sound, movement, stage, and projections to not just explain dyslexia, but try to immerse the audience in what it's like to see the world while experiencing dyslexia. The Words Will Come is on stage now at Shaking the Tree Theater in Southeast Portland through June 28th. Melody Erfani joins us now to talk about her newest work. Melody, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So you have talked about how this play was in part inspired by your niece and the similarities between your experience and hers. Could you tell us a little bit about her and how your relationship with her made you want to write this play?
Yes, definitely. She was 8 years old, and this was a couple years ago, and she was struggling in school, and she was falling behind, and my youngest sister went to her school, Ella's school, and was asking, what does she need to do to get her tested maybe for dyslexia, because she has it, her sister, which is me, has it, and my mom has it, and my grandfather has it. And so the teacher was very kind, but just said, if, her dad doesn't have it, then she's okay. So we don't need a test for dyslexia, which, was not true. It doesn't quite work that way. So my sister felt very, didn't know what to do. We talked, and I had been researching at the time dyslexia. And so I was like, well, ask her this. And, I would send her messages and she would copy and paste. And so eventually she was able to get tested, but really to get those services to have extra help. But I just saw how her struggle and how you have to have an advocate. And so if you don't have that, how you can really easily slip through the cracks. And it just made me realize, oh, goodness, not much has changed. And not putting that teacher down, I'm just saying, misinformation can happen very easily anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think dyslexia most often gets understood, especially in learning environments like schools?
I was diagnosed when I was 5, so they caught that very early. But I don't know if I even had an understanding of really what it means to be dyslexic, other than, I had trouble reading, or I mispronounce words, or I can't spell very well. And it can be all that, but it's really such a spectrum. And so in 2020, what kind of even got my brain, wanting to dig into this, I read The Dyslexic Advantage by Brock Eide, and it was so interesting. It was so interesting to see the positives. I had only kind of knew the negatives, like getting lost very easily, or but spatial awareness, being very emotionally intuitive, and all different. It's a spectrum. So, there's highs and lows of it, but to be able to see it in more of this 360 lens was really interesting.
Pattern recognition was another one, right?
Yes.
That's so interesting. So your play, which was lovely. Thank you.
I'm so glad you came to watch it.
Yeah, totally. So your play starts off with Lala, an adult who's an artist, and she's struggling with some personal stuff. On the eve of an exhibition, she's in a museum frantically prepping, something I do often, although not in a museum. And she goes inward, whether or not she really wants to, and much of the play takes place inside her mind. Why did you make that choice?
For me, it was about accepting all aspects of yourself, and she is rock bottom. Mm-hmm. So being able not to look outward but inward to find growth and change, I think, was an important part of her character.
So that kind of interior journey was propelling the narrative of the play, kind of.
Yeah, her shame and not being able to look back, I think, really made her have to look back to what some same patterns she was doing now to avoid conflict or to feel better about herself and to kind of find closure and healing.
So the first person who appears in her thoughts after she goes inward kind of caught me by surprise. It is a guy with crazy white hair and a pipe and a German accent who may or may not be a very famous physicist.
Yes.
So what drew you towards him as a character?
You know, from the simple fact, when I was in school, I was told Albert Einstein had dyslexia. So, and there was just this like thread of hope that if Einstein, who still is considered like one of the most brilliant minds, had dyslexia, then I can't be that dumb. Or like there's more than to dyslexia than just not being succeeding in school. So I think that's really where the spark came. I didn't see him when I was a kid or anything like that, but I felt like, yes, there was hope represented in him.
Yeah, he was like a positive representation of adulthood.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it was really cool. I was like, what? Who is that? So the second person to appear is Sheila, who represents Lala's younger self, a young girl who gets lost, starts revealing her struggles with dyslexia that she doesn't really understand yet. And what I was immediately struck by was how the movement on stage communicated her experience. So, for example, when she gets lost in the museum, these chords that are pieces of the background set get moved around and she runs into them, gets pulled around by them, gets twisted up in them. Tell me more about how you thought about using movement in the way you did in this play to kind of create this immersive experience.
I am drawn to movement in a lot of my directing work. I just love that the audience member can place their own story, like the actor or the mover is giving such an honest portrayal of whatever that might be, but then the audience member can fill in their lens of it or their pieces of that. And there's something appealing about the abstract nature of that. So you can set the story and then I just feel like it's a way that you can experience something but instead of being told what's happening.
Yeah. What are some other ways that you used to create this immersive experience for your audience? Because I found that so interesting. You were projecting things onto the screen. There was even the way you wrote your character's lines. How did you approach creating this experience, which is not just explaining, but like immersing your audience in this?
So I have to just give a big shout out to my design team because I thought of this all visually or had these ideas, but I am not, versed in lighting or sound or projections. And to have this amazing design team that yes ands, bring so much to the table, their expertise, and like my little seed of an idea, they were able to just run with it. And the collaboration of all that happening just made it like Kira with her set design, you were talking about like the chords and the curtains, coming alive, or where the sound is like throughout, or the projections throughout. It is a team effort to have that. I mean, ideally, hopefully, it all be seamless together. So it's not just one or the other, but that what we're creating this world of inside someone's mind.
Mm-hmm. So Sheila is a young Iranian-American girl, and I'm curious how that part of her identity relates to or shapes her experience in the play.
So I am Iranian-American. So partly from, my own experience that was coming in. For me, my mom is from the U.S., but dyslexic. My dad came here when he was 19. And so the traditional school setting, the navigating of that, I had one parent that, one parent that was dyslexic and maybe not able to navigate it as well. And I kind of see that in my youngest sister as well. Not that there is just some things that she gets intimidated by. So not that she can't, just that, she needed some help, or there's still shame attached to not being able to write that email or text or however to communicate clearly. And then a parent that's not their first language, or they don't know like the rules and systems. So that's what appealed to me. So I wanted to, it's so hard to encapsulate everything in like 80 minutes. So it was like a broad stroke of like, what does this texture lends itself is if you don't have that advocate or have someone that really wants to help, but maybe doesn't have the tools. So how can we open those doors?
If you're just tuning in, we're talking right now with playwright Melody Erfani. Her play about navigating dyslexia, The Words Will Come, is on stage now in Portland. So Melody, Lala is an artist, and so are you. Yes. How does making art help a person process or cope with or address things that they struggle with?
I think the need or the want to voice something and to create something or to make change or see how you can do that. I mean, for me personally, that's what entices me to create and make these stories. I don't know if it's the only way, but that is what I tend to go towards. And for Lala, she's a sculptor. And so her art is how she feels like she has control. And, you know, whether there's such a thing as full control, no, that's part of the, you know, her process in the play, but of, you know, playing into your strengths and then also knowing that your weaknesses and your strengths don't fully make you, I mean, it's a combination of all that who makes you.
Yeah. Well, art might not be the only way to cope with things, but it's a very beautiful, wonderful, amazing way. So throughout this play, we see Lala building a relationship or maybe repairing a relationship with Sheila. And I was really curious what it must have felt like to write that dialogue. When you were writing this, did you ever feel like you were writing to your younger self? And if so, what were you trying to tell her?
Gosh, I mean, yes. I mean, the short answer, yes. I mean, imaginary scenarios and circumstances, but I think I was so hard on myself. I didn't fit in. I wasn't. I felt like I was always like 10 steps behind when everyone else was getting things and like felt like everyone was speaking a different language and I just wasn't quite there. And so to have some compassion for my past self, I think maybe was my own journey within this process. But also it's been interesting talking to other like anyone on like an older, my age or anyone on the neurodivergent spectrum, how it resonated with them. Because I do think, you know, I learned how to cope and I did not think about my dyslexia very often, other than like I get lost. But I think I was so hard on that little girl in school because I felt like she should have got it. Whereas maybe it was just the system I wasn't, excelling in.
That's really relatable. Having self-compassion is hard. So, you know, in that same vein, I feel like Lala learns things from Sheila about herself as an adult, too. And, like, if in writing this you were telling things to your younger self, did you learn things from your younger self, too? Because I thought that the way that kind of got reversed a little bit, what Sheila was telling Lala was so beautiful.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe this is probably the first time I'm thinking, you voicing that makes me think of it right now. But yeah, I think her creativity and hope was definitely, I definitely was very imaginative. And so to lean into that, that there's beauty in that and that, you know, not to contain that, I think that's definitely something thinking back and just, yeah, that's what I'm learning right now.
I love that. We love to learn on live radio. You talked a little bit before about the importance of having an advocate, the importance of having support. What type of support system do you wish people growing up with dyslexia would have? And what was the importance of having that support system for you?
Yeah. So, you know, in my research, I read like if you are dyslexic, there is an advocate and a parent. But if you don't have that advocate, I guess basically I wish every kid would have someone being able to say they need this extra time on this test, or they don't learn this way, or if they can have these different services, it's looking out for the individual and how they best learn. And I get on a bigger scale, that's very hard to do. For me, my grandmother, I would stay summers with her and she would tutor me every day. And so, I mean, I hated it at the time during the summer having to like do reading and math and things like that. But that repetition, that one-on-one attention, that definitely, I think that's one reason why things started to click, was that extra attention and how our systems are made to educate lots of children, which I that is a beautiful thing. It just like a lot of learning differences do need a lot more one-on-one attention.
What do you hope younger audiences, especially young people with dyslexia or other neurodivergence, can learn or take away from your play?
I just want people to feel seen. And I would say this play is great for ages 10 and up, maybe 12 and up. I mean, it's family friendly, it's not a children's play, but we have had audiences around that age. And it's been fun watching them and seeing how and hearing them afterwards and basically being like, oh, I saw myself up there. And I was like, oh, that fills my heart with joy because it's not very often that you get that experience.
Do you hope that adults who are maybe in a similar position to you have some experience, but didn't really always have the tools to know what was going on as a younger person, like feel seen by this play too?
100%. I mean, I think the beauty is that older, younger, I think you can look at each lens and maybe walk away with something.
Well, Melody, I loved your play.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being here today and sharing a bit about it, your experience. And it's been delightful.
Oh, thank you for having me on.
The Words Will Come is showing at Shaking the Tree Theater in Southeast Portland through June 28th. It was created by Melody Erfani, and we have a link to more info on our website, opb.org. Tomorrow on the show, we'll hear a community conversation Think Out Loud recently hosted at Otfality Ridge Elementary School in North Plains, Oregon. The town's residents shared about what they value and the challenges of reconciling different views about the city's urban growth boundary. Our production staff includes Malia Fass, Rolly Hernandez, Gemma DiCarlo, senior producer Allison Frost, and managing producer Shiraz Siddiq. Nalene Silva and Layla Isbell engineer the show from the Gert Boyle studio. Our technical director is Stephen Cray, and our executive producer is Sage Van Wing. If you don't want to miss any of our shows, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. Our nightly rebroadcast is at 8 p.m. Thank you very much for tuning in to Think Out Loud on OPB. I'm Jen Chavez. It has been wonderful to be with y'all this week. Dave Miller will be back tomorrow. Till then, have a great day.
Think Out Loud is supported by Steve and Jan Oliva, the Rose E. Tucker Charitable Trust, Ray and Marilyn Johnson, the Susan Hammer Fund of Oregon Community Foundation, and the Lang Svengard Family Fund.